In a short while, the World Culture Museum in Stockholm will be opening its doors to the critically acclaimed traveling exhibition of the African masterpieces. This is a historical event. It's going to showcase sophisticated artworks. Also, on display is the IFE bronze from Nigeria. And I want you to stay tuned and keep watching.
So, please, let me introduce my director, Sara Obelixson, from the National Museum of World.
State Secretary to the Minister for Culture of Sweden, Mr. Joachim Stune, His Excellency Benedict Onichi Amobi, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and colleagues. Warmly welcome to the inauguration of African Masterpieces, Dynasty and Divinity, IFE Art in Ancient Nigeria. In 2010, the World Culture Museums opened the exhibition space we are now standing in for the first time, and after a large-scale renovation in close cooperation with the Swedish National Property Board. The idea was to make use of this very special and dramatic underground exhibition area for archaeological treasures of the past, which are believed to hold a special position in world history. Our first exhibition focused on the first emperor of China and his successors. The second exhibition displayed gold of the Incas from Peru, South America. When planning for the third exhibition, we wanted to highlight the great contribution of Africa to world history. Having decided this, we very soon turned to the remarkable works of art in stone, terracotta and copper alloy, dating as early as the 12th to 15th centuries and belonging to the IFE dynasty in Nigeria. These art pieces, which you are very soon to see, are outstanding, individualistic and almost portrait-like faces of a series of high-ranking persons. The persons lived almost 800 years ago in and around IFE in western Nigeria. And IFE is a legendary homeland of the Yoruba people, whose descendants count more than 30 million people today, and who live all over the world, including Sweden. The naturalistic works of art from IFE culture, exhibited now for the first time in Sweden, offer a striking contrast to the two-dimensional medieval art of Europe and Sweden, made at the same time as the IFE sculptures. With this exhibition, it is our hope to offer a different picture of Africa for wider audiences. And we have therefore decided to put this exhibition on show in both Stockholm and in Gothenburg. We have also made an effort to make this exhibition easily accessible for people who are disabled, and to make it attractive and instructive for children. The exhibition has been conceived and brought to fruition through a close cooperation with the Museum for African Art in New York, the Fondation Marceline Boutin, Santander in Spain, and the National Commission for Museums and Monuments in Nigeria. Let me therefore extend my sincere gratitude to Curator Emerita Enid Schilprau at the Museum for African Art in New York, and the project co-organizer Paloma Boutin, and to the Director General, Mr. Yusuf Abdallah Ushman, of the National Commissions for the Museums and Monuments Nigeria, and the Director of the National Museum Nigeria, Mrs. Rosemary Budam. I also wish to thank Director of Curatorial Affairs at Museum for African Art, Mrs. Donna Gallarda, for her help to accomplish the preparations. From the Swedish side, I wish to congratulate Director of Exhibitions, Mrs. Anna Lundström, and Director of Research and Collections, Mr. Lars-Erik Bachmann, and Director of Marketing, Peter Skog, and their departments for their tireless efforts, energy to make this exhibition a reality. For preparation for the exhibition at our museum in Gothenburg. Many more people from the World Cultural Museums have done their utmost to make this exhibition a success, and I thank them all warmly. As always, we are also most grateful for the cooperation and support from the Swedish National Property Board, who are in charge of the caverns, this area. And we are grateful to Kammerkollegiet and Kulturrådet for their support in all matters of insurance. I also want at this place to thank the taste we're going to have of the Nigerian kitchen. And let me also, last but not least, thank the so-called Africa groups. I think we share many ideas.
The Director General of the National Commissions for Museums and Monuments of Nigeria, Yusuf Abdallah Osman.
The Secretary for Arts and Culture of Sweden, His Excellency the Ambassador of Nigeria to Sweden, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good evening. We are here today to witness the opening of a very great exhibition, which, as we have been told, has been put together by 3 great institutions, 4 actually. The Fundación team of Santander, Spain, the Museum for African Arts in New York, the National Commission for Museums and Monuments, and the Museum of World Culture in Sweden. This great exhibition consists of 109 exquisite and wonderful pieces from Nigeria. They are coming from IFE, which for the great majority of the Yoruba people is the center of the world. And for IFE people particularly, IFE is the gateway to heaven. So what you are about to see today are a collection of artworks that not only describe Africa and Nigeria, but will transport you to heaven. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, from where these 109 objects have come, there are several other artworks that are in the various national museums under the National Commission for Museums and Monuments. In point of fact, the collections also include other artifacts from other Nigerian art traditions. We have a few of the artworks from Iwobi and Nok, which actually predate IFE bronzes and terracottas. And then we have the Benin artworks that are also coming from Nigeria that are flourished after the IFE traditions. So you will have a glimpse of Nigeria when you go through these exhibitions today. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the artworks have come from Nigeria, and therefore we will not only speak about Nigeria, but we also show for us an opportunity to work with other professional colleagues in Europe. And this is made possible through this exchange and collaboration. On the team of the exhibition are 2 project officers that accompany these objects as they move all over the world. And as they interact with colleagues here, we hope we'll be able to learn a few things and go back home to translate into great exhibitions because of the many artifacts that are there to be displayed for the world to enjoy. And secondly, and most importantly, is to tell the world that when we ask that artifacts from Nigeria that are in various museums around the world to be returned to Nigeria, we are not going to be selfish to keep the objects with us. That there is always an opportunity for the world to see and enjoy them, as this collaboration has pointedly shown. We are willing to share these works with the rest of the world, and we are always looking for opportunities such as this to do just that. And importantly too, we believe that this kind of exhibition will show Nigeria outside oil and football. See, so we thank the Museum of World Culture for this great opportunity. We hope, as this exhibition moves around, especially the fact that Stockholm is the capital of Scandinavia, so we hope that all the Nordic countries will have an opportunity to have a good look at these great masterpieces. And in doing that, we hope that we'll continue to be friends and be able to see Nigeria in different light. So I invite you to enjoy this work, but my speech will not be complete if I do not put in a word or two of appreciation to many who have made this collaboration possible. Of course, at the top, for long of the team, in it, and Donna Gleta. But more importantly, the project officers who have worked tirelessly, especially Amanda Thompson, who unfortunately is not here today with us, and Jeremy, who had been shuttling between New York, Stockholm, Lagos, to get these works transported safely here. So we are very grateful. And I'm told by my staff that they've learned a lot from the perseverance and efficiency with which these great professionals have carried on their job.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to create a safe and dignified setting for these ancient treasures have been a privilege and a true honor. This spirit has imbued the team as well as the entire production. And I'm immensely grateful for their devotion and for their skills. I would especially like to mention the exhibition architect, Patrick Quist. Are you here? Well, it's disappeared. For his ability to create an apt ambience. These magnificent masterpieces, they speak for themselves. And I'm confident that many visitors will grasp the opportunity to experience this historic and aesthetic radiance of the sculptures of IFE.
I wanted to take this exhibition, which by then had gone back to Nigeria and was on view in Lagos. I thought at first that it might not be possible. At first it might not be possible to do it in 1 year, because what we sent with the exhibition were all of the objects, all of the labels, the mounts for the objects, and the photograph in digital form. But that meant that the translation, the design, the cases, the installation, and everything else, all the educational materials, had to be created here. And I have to say that I am so impressed with the exhibition and how beautiful it looks and how efficiently and smoothly the process went. So I really want to thank the Museum of World Culture, as well as the Nigerian Commission for Museums and Monuments for cooperating and making this fast-track and amazing experience possible. A German anthropologist named Leo Frobenius discovered a bronze head, they're actually brass, mostly copper head, in Ife, and he assumed that it had been made by the Greeks and was part of the lost city of Atlantis. In 1910, African art was known in Paris. It was inspiring the Impressionists, but these were masks, very abstract sculptures, and nothing like what was coming from Ife. Over the years after that, because Ife is an inhabited city that today has about 500,000 people living in it, there was no systematic excavation, But chance finds kind of began to reveal more and more things. In 1938, there were 16 amazing brass heads, 10 of which are in this exhibition, discovered as foundations were being done for a building. And after that, people began to realize that the living culture of IFE, where there is a traditional ruler who has been in his dynasty, he's the 50th in line of this dynasty.
Man faktiskt få en idé om vart vi är någonstans, Västafrika, Nigeria och kungadömet IFE då, eller ska säga staden IFE är utmärkt också. Det är en stad som finns idag alltså och har cirka 500 000 invånare.
The lost wax technique that were created between the 10th and the 16th century, the majority in the 13th and 14th century. Most of them created in IFE, which is now a town of about 500,000 people. And IFE is the homeland of the Yoruba people. There are about 35 million people, Yoruba people, and people of Yoruba descent around the world who regard IFE as their spiritual homeland. And when you see the exhibition, you will see why. These are masterworks that portray both royals who also became divinities, rulers became divinities after death in Yoruba belief, and also images of ordinary people, giving us some glimpse of what the society was like at the time these works were created. It's also interesting to note that IFE is still inhabited. There is still a current traditional ruler shown here, the 50th in a succession and probably the longest continuous dynasty in the world. And the objects were found within an inhabited city. So therefore, it's not a pristine archaeological site, but it's a place that was continuously occupied. And some of the objects have been found in ritual contexts and in palace contexts still in use. So we interpret them both visually, but also based on the oral history that Yoruba people use to talk about these objects today.
Land of blessing. Africa, land of blessing.
Gem of an object which encapsulates so much of the story of the dynasty of IFE. If you look closely, you see a queen whose body is wrapped around the top of she's wrapped around the top of a stool. You can see her little feet. She's wearing a crown, just like the terracotta crown that you saw in the case over there. She's holding a scepter, a metal scepter, just like one there, which has a head on it, probably to do with the power of royals to execute people because the head on it is gagged. And she's on a stool, two stools. The arm of one of them represents an elephant trunk sitting on another stool, and an elephant was a symbol of royalty. And in the section on stone, you will see a small stool with a trunk, a fragment of a small stool with a trunk like that. So this little queen, which was probably a container, she's wrapped around a bowl that would have held probably fluid from a snail that was used in a ritual libation and had some kind of protective properties. So it's just a little gem of a piece that kind of pulls together lots of images that you see elsewhere in the exhibition.
land of blessing. Africa, land of blessing. Africa, I'm black, I'm proud. I'm black, I'm proud. I'm black, I'm proud. I'm black, I'm proud. I've traveled all over the sea and over the land. There is no place like Africa to me. Yeah, 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 Africa. Yeah, 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 Africa. Africa is my own. All Africa games of Nigeria prove to all the world that Africa is a nation. Africa, motherland Africa. Yeah, 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 Africa. Yeah, 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 Africa. Africa is my own. The bright sunshine of Nigeria makes me to believe that all over the world there's no place like Africa. For Nigeria is my home. Yeah, 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 Africa.
In my view, the most important historic piece of sub-Saharan African art that we know. It is called the Tata figure. It was found on an island in the Niger River in the 20th century, still being used in a shrine context. Not perhaps the original context, we don't know, but it's definitely in the style and probably by the same workshop as the IFE metal castings. And it sat at a place that was a very important trade juncture that connected southwestern Nigeria and the location of Ife through the Niger River with the trans-Saharan trade routes. So Ife manufactured beads, exported cola, probably ivory, and various other products of the forest to the north along the Niger River and to other areas in Nigeria. So the Tata, the location of Tata, 120 kilometers from Ife, was kind of a key trade route that links the great Niger River to the trans-Saharan trade. And it's an extraordinary figure. It's unusual in its pose. There are very few pieces of African art that show this asymmetrical pose. But he's also wearing a garment which indicates the kind of textiles they might have had at that time, with elaborate weaving and possibly embroidery. Could have been beaded embroidery. He has an elaborate belt. And the sort of corpulence, the fat body, is a sign of his well-being and probably suggests that he was a royal, but at this very special place.
Yeah, 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 Africa. Yeah, 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 Africa. Africa is my own. Land of blessing. Africa, land of blessing. Africa, I'm black, I'm proud. I'm black, I'm proud. I'm black, I'm proud. I'm black, I'm proud. I've traveled all over the sea and over the land. There is no place like Africa to me. Yeah, 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 Africa. Yeah, 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 Africa. Africa is my own. All Africa games of Nigeria prove to all the world that Africa is a nation. Africa, motherland Africa. Yeah, 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 Africa. Yeah, yeah, yeah. sunshine of Nigeria.
Stone objects are from the Ore Grove. We don't know the exact date they were made, but it's thought probably the 11th to the 15th century. And behind you is a picture of the Ore Grove when it was found. It was still a place of worship in the 20th century when the objects came to the attention of museum authorities and outsiders, and they were moved to the Department of Antiquities for safekeeping. But you know, these several hundred-year-old statues were still in a sacred context in this modern period, which is quite extraordinary. The dwarf figure on the far end is associated with Ore, the hunter, the god of hunters. And it is believed that when royals died, they became divinities and sometimes turned to stone. So these may have represented, at least in the oral history, living beings who then became divinities after death. There, you saw the full-figured king in the other case. And this is a torso, obviously made of a torso. Michael may have said that you can see traces of the red and white paint that were on these objects, and also probably a hat made of basketry, and royal emblems, and holding a container for medicine. But also in this case are two terracotta sculptures, one of a hippo and one of an elephant, which were royal symbols. And you can see that on their heads, they have the same emblems as the royals, either the rosette on the elephant or the concentric circles on the hippo. So these were somehow associated with royal dynasties that ruled IFE in this period.
He's holding a horn. What does that signify?
The horn would have been a container for some kind of medicine. By medicine, either medicine for curing or something for communicating with spirits, and or possibly used in coronation rituals or various other rituals. But it was probably a horn for medicinal substances.
Another thing is the lines, the marks.
Mine.
No, please. I'm asking you, so I want you to answer. So please keep it on. The lines that you see on the face and on the stomach. Can you say something about that?
Yeah, many of the figures, but not all, have fine lines inscribed on them. And it is thought by most people that these represent a stylized image of scarification patterns that were used at the time and may have symbolized their identity as a member of a certain group, a certain dynasty, or a certain ethnic group. We're really not sure why some of the heads have the striations and some don't, what that represents. There are various theories about it, but since many of these metal heads were made at the same period, it's a little hard to figure out what this difference means and why some of them have them and some don't. But there's a photograph over there, a small black and white photograph of a child showing how such scarification patterns were still found in Nigeria in the 20th century. Very rare, if at all, happens today, at least facial scarification, but it was a sign of beauty, and some scarification patterns were medicinal, but mostly it was regarded as a sign of beauty and identity. Now, the Igbo area, eastern Nigeria. So it's not Yoruba, but it's obviously the techniques are related. This was from 900 to 1100 AD. So if you think of European history, where were we at that period? These tiny works of representing an elephant, a king, and a cup, many of them have insects and shells and beads on them, were created in this very early period. These works were found in a tomb and excavated by an archaeologist named Thurston Shaw, who also discovered there an enormous bead-making industry. And we know that Igbo Ugwu, though it's in southern Nigeria, had contacts with Gao, which is in present-day Mali, and therefore with the trans-Saharan trade. So it's a very interesting link that links southern West Africa to the Sahara, across the Sahara, and eventually to the Middle East and the Mediterranean. But this casting industry was highly developed there, and it was interesting that the technique was a little different than in IFE, because they would cast the little insects and shells and beads that went on the objects separately and then attach them in a second stage of casting, rather than making the whole thing at once, and that accounts for some of the elaborate detail. This is got writing on it. You'll see it says Obalufon on this side in Roman script, and it shows that these deities were still important into the 20th century, and it's still part of a living culture. This is from Owo, another very important early, the little man there, I just love him. He's from another important Yoruba culture with its own distinctive ceramic and ivory carving traditions. And this is a representation, a more recent representation, probably 18th century, I think this one, of Obalufon, the founding deity and patron of brass casters. Yet another culture in Nigeria where a whole big group of stone sculptures were found, soapstone sculptures. We know very little about this culture and their use, but there were hundreds of them found in one site, and just kind of cries out to tell us that we need to do more excavations and figure out exactly what the culture was that produced these. But they are related, so presumably they had trade relations. Again, you can see beads, you can see patterns of scarification, you can see the elaborate hairstyles, sitting on a regal-looking stool. These, luckily, remain in Nigeria, and we're honored to have them here. It's thought that the metal casting industry ended quite abruptly in IFE, and possibly the casters moved to Benin. So they're contemporaneous, but Benin, IFE kind of faded as a center of art production, and Benin grew coincident with Europeans coming around the Atlantic coast. So you see some signs of Portuguese contact here, like the cross that the messenger figure on the left is wearing. And in other works of Benin art, you see a lot of representations of the Portuguese. So trade also shifted in this period of the 1500s from north, across the Sahara, to the Atlantic coast, and obviously the gold, spice trade, but then slave trade. The image of the horse is interesting because horses were important in some Yoruba kingdoms like Oyo, but in the forest area where Ife was located and in Benin, horses could not live very long because they got, what do you call that?
Trypanosomiasis.
Right.
Can you tell us who you are?
My name is Yusuf Abdullah Usman, the Director General of the National Commission for Museums and Monuments.
Okay, you came all the way from Nigeria?
I came all the way from Nigeria.
Oh, that's great.
To open this exhibition.
Okay.
Yes.
What do you hope to achieve by this exhibition? What is the aim? Why did you come all this way to Sweden to showcase this artwork?
Well, thank you very much. A number of things. First, it's an opportunity for us to share these great artworks, these masterpieces for the rest of the world.
Okay.
That's why we come to a central location Stockholm is the capital of Scandinavia.
Yes.
So it's an afford opportunity for all Nordic countries to have a look at these magnificent artworks.
Okay.
And we think by doing that, we are laundering the image of our country in Europe.
Okay.
We hope that after going through the exhibition, Europeans in this part of the world will now see Nigeria outside the stereotype, the parameters that have been given to our country. So we hope we will have positive image of our country.
Okay.
Thirdly, it's an opportunity for us to tell the rest of the world that when we ask that artifacts belonging to Nigeria be returned home, when they come home, there will still be an opportunity to share with the rest of the world, people to see them. And fourthly, and most importantly, to share ideas, professional ideas with other professionals, and so on.
No economic benefit.
You see, this is why these objects are priceless.
Yes.
One of the economic benefits is the good image that we get.
Okay.
So it may not be in terms of naira, kobo, dollar and cent, or euro, but it will be in terms of the good perception that we get from people as they see the great works of our forebears.
So this is in Stockholm. You are here in Stockholm. Are you planning to take it somewhere else, or just?
Yes. Before here, they had been to Madrid. They had been to Santander in Spain. They've been to London and Great Britain. They've been to 3 cities in the United States. This is about the 7th venue for this exhibition.
Okay.
To this place, and hopefully when we leave here, we will go to some other place that we will decide in the future.
Thank you. So I have one more question to ask. It's about the meaning and the significance of the IFE bronze. I know the young lady has explained a lot to us, but I believe that you are in charge of this and you know more history about those things. What is the significance of the IFE bronze? What does it represent?
Yes, the decision to call it IFE, even though there are other art traditions that are involved.
Yeah, I heard about
Iboku. There's Iboku, there is Tada, there is Owo, there is Isie, and even the Funok. The basic reason is that IFE, for an average Yoruba man, is the center of the world.
Okay.
Is the gateway to heaven.
Really?
Yes. So, and since it is where creation started.
In Ife?
In Ife, this is the mythology.
Okay.
The tradition. This is what is generally accepted and talked about. But for us in the museum, the Ife art tradition is not the oldest in Nigeria.
Okay.
It's not the oldest because we have now, apart from Nok, which seems to be the oldest art tradition in Africa, south of the Sahara, you also have now discovered the Dufnakin, which is over 8,000 years old.
Okay.
And this is in northeastern part of the country. But like I said, the significance of Ife really is the fact that it is it has a link to the past, which is Nok, and the future, which is Benin.
Okay.
Because the bronze cast tradition declined slightly as it flourished in Benin.
Okay.
So it moved from Ife to Benin. And therefore, so you can see the link to the past from Iboku, Nok, and to Benin.
The future.
And, yes.
Okay.
So that is why it serves as a junction, a junction. So
between the present and the past.
So that's why I call it Ife art.
Yeah, but it doesn't represent anything in particular, just the past, the bridge between this and that.
Yes,
okay.
But it's about divinity and about creation, about the communication between the people now and the past ancestors.
Okay.
So some of the artifacts, of course, are about divinity.
Yeah. Some of the young Nigerians, the youth in Nigeria, do they embrace this significance? How knowledgeable are they with the significance of the faith, bronze and artifacts?
There's a steady growth in the appreciation for this now with the creation of many museums.
Okay.
Yes, and we had barely 28 museums. Now we have
In Nigeria?
Now we have about 48 national museums spread across the country. So museums are being brought closer to the people, and there's an attempt to make sure that it is put as part of the school curriculum.
Exactly, because the young generation needs to
Yes, so that-
understand
exactly.
this. Yeah.
Yes.
Because if not, it will just fizzle
It will
out.
just fizzle out, exactly.
Yeah.
But now it is part of the school curriculum, and we want it to be a compulsory, a mandatory part of the school work to visit a museum.
Okay.
So that, yes,
Yeah,
so that
they will benefit from it. Please tell the audience who you are and what you do for Nigerians.
Okay, my name is Gabriel Idaguku. I am a chief curator, the National Commission for Museum and Monuments.
Okay. I saw the lady explaining so many things about this, but I believe that since you are one of the people that brought this artwork to Sweden, you might be able to explain more, because this is a unique artwork, what it represents, what the true meaning is. I know she has done that, but I need to know more about this. That's why I wanted to talk to you about this.
Actually, I and Mustafa Bello, we came down here with the objects. We know more about the history and the background of all the objects displayed here. You know, this exhibition titled Dynasty and Divinity, Ancient IFE Art in Ancient Nigeria. And the exhibition of objects here, there are 109 objects. The 109 objects, not every object that are displayed here are from IFE. Okay. This particular one in question is from Tada. It has a similarity with some of the IFE artwork. And this particular seated figure is very unique.
Yeah, because the hands are broken, everything is broken.
Tada is in Nupe, in Niger State, about 120 kilometers away from Ife. And this object is produced in the 13th century.
Wow.
Yes, this object, there were about 9 that were being found along the River Nile area. And if you look at the unique nature of the object in seated position, and if you look at how the object looked like, the hands and one of the legs is broken out, and the figure looked very flumpy, that is a well-fed human being, and he tied wrap around the waist, and that is to show that they were clothing during that time, and the type of clothes they used to clothe. And when this object was founded in group, there were the inhabitants of the Tada people. This object in particular, they take it to the River Niger and scrub it with sand every Friday to increase the fertility of themselves and the fish catch. Wow. If you look at the photograph there, look at how the objects used to be taken down to the River Niger. That is River Niger you are seeing. Look at the object, how it is positioned there, you see canoe there. And the people who normally worship these objects before they get to museum, today they have been converted to Muslim. Majority of them today are Muslim.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's so good to know, because I saw the head broken, I saw the hands broken, the one leg off. I was wondering what all this meant, but thank you for sharing. I'll ask you another question concerning another one.
Actually, these are fragments of objects. If you look at the other one there, is a fragment of a foot.
Yes.
Yes, and the next one is a fragment of an arm. And the last one here is also a fragment of an arm. So these objects were found in fragments like this. And if you look at the foot, is like standing on one platter. And if you look at the hand, the particular hand that is holding something there, it's like a fragment of an arm that is laden with several kinds of bracelets. And if you see, it's modeled in intricate detail. If you go close to it, you see a lot of things there, something like bracelets, beads, and you can see a lot of coil bracelets with tiny model of a human skull all present in that particular one in the middle. And you can see this is like there's a bundle of whether leaf or an angle of an arm, also represent the handle of a fly whisk. Represent fly whisk. You know what is called fly whisk? No, those things that the kings normally carry. Yes. Yeah. Like a tail of a horse.
Horse, yes.
Yes. And the fragment of the arm this way here. This one, it is like it has a multiple bracelet in his hand. And you can look at how it is.
Thank you so much. Yes. I'm really, really impressed. Thank you so much for sharing. What is your impression about today's exhibition? Is it what you anticipated it to be, or it was below your expectation?
I know it has met my expectations, if not exceeded. The turnout, very well attended. I think I counted up to 250 to 280 people here. We were hoping up for about 300 people, and I think we met that. And you can see 70% of them were Swedish days, which is what we were hoping for. But I'm very happy with the turnout.
Congratulations. You know you have always wanted to bring the fragrance to me.
Absolutely. And you know, I'm so happy because, as I've discussed with you earlier, the perception, undeserved negative perception of the country. This is an opportunity for people to see those good things that come out of Nigeria.
Exactly.
It's a blessed country. Look at the kind of civilization we have here. IFE bronzes, 12th to 15th century, the knock going back 200 years BC, 9th century Igoku from my state.
Congratulations.
Thank God, glory to God. So it's portraying those good things, exquisite works of art that were produced during the 9th to 12th century, that when the Europeans themselves were not producing such art, they couldn't produce this time. So for them to see this, their beliefs about Africa and Nigeria start changing, their perceptions start changing. And we've not only done that, we've been able, the embassy has supported with food.
Exactly.
Nigerian food, eat it. Thank you. Suya, puff, chin chin, all this, the taste of Nigeria. And of course, Nigerian breweries gave us some Nigerian beer, star beer, and some other beer. So you had the taste, the sound, the smells of Nigeria. So we are very, very happy with this. And I want to also thank the Mr. Lula, the DG of the National Commission for Museums and Monuments, who has made this possible by releasing these beautiful artifacts. And also the madam in charge of the Swedish National Museum for collaborating with Nigeria and bringing these things here. They're going to be here for at least 6 months. It's then going to move to Gothenburg. Okay. So it's going to go throughout Sweden. And people will now start associating something better, those good things that are coming out of Nigeria.
That's wonderful. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
It happened in your own time.
Grace of God. God is good.
Yes.
And I told you,
yes.
He's good all the time.
Yes.
So
Yes,
He's blessed.
Thank you,
He's blessed.
sir. Yeah.
Thank you, man.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Well,
land of blessing. Africa, land of blessing. Africa, I'm black, I'm proud. I'm black, I'm proud. I'm black, I'm proud. I'm black, I'm proud. I've traveled all over the sea and over the land. There is no place like Africa to me. Yeah, 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 Africa. Yeah, 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 Africa. Africa is my home. All Africa games of Nigeria prove to all the world that Africa is a nation. Africa, motherland Africa. Yeah, 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 Africa. Yeah, 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 Africa. Africa is my home. The bright sunshine of Nigeria makes me to believe that all over the world there's no place like Africa. For Nigeria is my home. Yeah, 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 Africa. Yeah, 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 Africa. Africa is my home. I'm black, I'm proud. I'm black, I'm proud. I'm black, I'm proud. I'm black, I'm proud. I've traveled all over the land and over the sea. There is no place like Africa to me. Yeah, 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 Africa. Yeah, 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 Africa. Africa is my home. Africa is my own. Blessed be thy name, O Lord. I am proud to be a Nigerian. Blessed be thy name, O Lord.